I have an impression. The one I kept now on is my favorite from a perspective. If this headlamp would have had RGB, would have been the killer headlamp of all headlamps. By the way, all headlamps in this video have rechargeable batteries. I made sure that the assessment I'm making is as fair possible. What I'm trying to do is to introduce you to the world of headlamps. What a headlamp can do and cannot, what are the limitations, for you to familiarize yourself with the beam of them in almost pitch dark, and from there to see the effect of RGB LEDs and then the survival modes that these headlamps have on them. I was now editing the video about headlamps in 2026. It's not about the best headlamp out there, it is about the 3 headlamps that I use as a reference to any other headlamp when I'm deciding when something new comes on the market, if it is better or not, and if I should consider buying it or not. And then I'm showing you in pitch dark, almost pitch dark, the beam performance and their extra modes. I will leave it to you to choose what headlamp is best for you. Now, what I say at a point, and I think it is very important, is that these two are my right now go-to headlamps. I have a the new Petzl Actik Core as a reference as well, but the Nitecore HA23 UHE and the Black Diamond 500R are my main go-to. I go with 2 at the same time when it is about survival and extreme conditions, because I want to have redundancy. If one burns, I need to have the other one. It's not necessarily because one performs better than the other. They are not identical when you stay and think. This punches 600 lumen, this only 500. It is old technology. Now, what I'm trying to say here is this has RGB, this doesn't, this has different warmths for the white light, this doesn't. And there are a couple of other things that makes each distinct. What I would love to see on the market is a mesh, a combination of these 2 headlamps here. What this headlamp does well, these LEDs here are individual. What this means is this is penetrating LED, this is floating LED, and in here you have RGB LEDs. And it is perfect. I can cycle through them, and then in here I have a power mode. I touch, and these 2 turn on at the same time. And that one is the power mode. And this is great. Another great thing that this has is the SOS and strobe. They function on all LEDs, which is amazing. These are the best features of this headlamp here when you stay and think. And I would love to see these features meshed with the features of this headlamp. It has 3 warmths: cold white, warm white, and what I call it yellow white. They call it differently, but this is how I call them: cold white, warm white, and yellow white. I want these modes because they are amazing. The yellow white is for when you have fog. Then the red, we only have red here, but the red has 2 intensities. I would love this option into the mesh headlamp. Plus, this punches 600 lumen, so I would love that mesh headlamp to punch 600 lumen, and then to have an option to tap and to burst to 900 or 1000 lumen in either deep penetrating or floating modes, so that I can see better around me or better deep inside the forest, for example, or the dark, the unknown. That one will be great for just a couple of seconds. I don't want to have it for an hour, but if I can have it for a couple of seconds, it would be amazing. Another thing that I want to have is what this headlamp does, which is this replaceable rechargeable batteries. This will be amazing because it gives you flexibility. You can have an extra battery in your pocket and you don't have to carry the second headlamp. Now, a risk with all the headlamps is the motherboard to burn, and if that happens, you no longer have a headlamp with you there in that extreme situation when you depend on the headlamp. Because of that, I carry both with me. What I would love to see in this mesh headlamp is an emergency LED or an emergency light with a completely separate circuit. If something happens to the main motherboard, I should be able to activate that emergency LED to get out of that situation. and that would be amazing. So yes, this is my ideal headlamp, in case you wonder. There is no winner, no clear winner. Each one of them does things in their own way. The new Petzl Actik Core, the Nitecore HA23 UHE, and the Black Diamond 500R, they have their pluses and minuses. I will say this trumps the Actik Core because it does the same thing as Actik Core but better. If I have to choose for 2026, and if you ask me, I will go with definitely the Nitecore HA23 UHE, just because it is way cheaper than the Actik Core, and then it punches 600 lumen with the rechargeable battery from Nitecore. It is why I will go with this one. I still love the Black Diamond 500R. I still love it because of RGB. To me, RGB, it is a must in any headlamp. Now this one only has red LED, which what this means is if it doesn't has a red light, then I don't buy that headlamp. It has to do something very well for me to consider a headlamp without at least red light. So yes, if I have to choose for 2026, I will go with this one, even if the price of this is way down, but I will go with this one just because that extra 100 lumen punched by it makes a difference when you think at both. But if I go in extreme situations, I will take the Black Diamond 500R as my main, because it has RGB. And usually what I do in pitch dark is to walk with green or blue light. I don't walk with red. Rarely, but I do it with red, but rarely. And definitely I don't walk with white. I use the white light only to orient myself, to see ahead of me if I have unknown terrain, or if the situation becomes survival. If something chases me and I have to run, for example, then yes, I will turn on the maximum. I will go to the maximum intensity of it to see around me and be able to get out of a situation. I hope this helps. Let's go to the introduction and then to the forest to see the beams and how they behave in their various modes. Stick with me because this is an interesting video. Fast. Let's speak headlamps. This episode we speak about headlamps. I will do this introduction now here in front of a camera, and then together we'll go into the forest where it's almost pitch black, and we can test and properly understand the beam and the impact of that, plus the other functionalities headlamps have when it comes to their options of lighting headlamps. At the end of the day, if we really have to summarize it into the simplest form of it, any headlamp is good. As long as it makes light in front of you, then it is okay, correct? Why should you care? Based on your budget, based on your needs, just go and buy it. Well, it's not that simple. Yes, you can do that if you really don't care and only need something to light in front of you and to sit on your head, for example, like this, right? So if this is everything you need, then any headlamp is good. As long as it turns on and will light your path, why not, correct? Just buy whatever you have at hand, whatever is per your budget. But there is a but. It's not that simple. You can leave it that simple if you really want. Why not? Minimalistic is good. But when it comes to mountaineering, when it comes to extreme activities during nighttime, or go through extreme situations, then you want something that is reliable and it has functions. Now, I've tested a couple of them. I don't have money to buy all of them. What I can tell you right away is headlamps have a limit. As torches, they have a limit as well. And their limit is fuel, the batteries, and then overheating. They can go as high. I've seen there 1000 lumen or more, but it's not sustainable, really. They overheat fast, and then from 1000 you drop to 500, 600, or even worse, to 400 lumen. And in that case, you are not better off with that than with a headlamp like this. To me, these three headlamps here are the reference when it comes to headlamps. We have one which has great marketing around it, and then we have two of them. One that was exceptional engineering at its time, and another one which appears to be the right balance between cost and benefits. Now, to be fair to the brand, and I'm speaking about Petzl, they have great marketing. It is a well-renowned brand. I've seen they release now Petzl 2R RGB, something like that. And that one has a rechargeable battery, as this one here is the new version of a core battery with USB-C instead of USB mini. From there onwards, it has RGB LEDs, which is good because right now on the market, the only one really doing a good job with RGB LEDs is this Black Diamond 500R. Black Diamond has more, but this is the most powerful Black Diamond has out there. What I'm trying to say is Petzl tries to do a good job. Maybe I'll buy that RGB headlamp to see how it works. Hopefully it will be better than this one, because this Petzl Actik Core newer version, yes, it punches 600, they say 625 lumen with the rechargeable battery, which is great. But at the end of the day, it is primitive. To switch modes, you have to click, 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 and it doesn't memorize anything. If you want to return to the mode you last time been when you shut it off, it doesn't. You have to start from scratch. So you have to cycle back through the steps, through the levels of intensity, which is annoying. Then it only has red light, and that one is weak. You don't have various intensities when it comes to red light. But still, when it comes to the simplest, most performant, or a headlamp that we can use as a reference when it comes to a simple headlamp, this Actik Core, the new version from Petzl, is it. This is it. This will be my third choice. No matter what, this will be my third choice, just because it doesn't do anything more than lighting my path. But I need more. I need more than just my path made visible to me. I need to be able to navigate in different conditions, terrain conditions, to orient myself, properly orient myself. I need flexibility. I need, in case of emergency, of optionality. And Petzl Actik Core doesn't provide that. Again, maybe I am considering, and maybe I will buy the Petzl 2R RGB. And hopefully it will do an amazing job. Hopefully. I hope that. I really hope. Why? Because this Black Diamond 500R was for many years my go-to, but now it is 500 lumen. That extra 100-125 lumen actually make a difference. And because of that, this is now way far behind. Yes, it is way far ahead when it comes to its RGB capabilities and also to emergency capabilities or optionalities. But otherwise, when it comes to navigating in the dark, using the white light, is no longer there. I need more to penetrate the dark and to be able to navigate on unknown terrain. Now, one other limitation of this one being old technology, it has the USB mini port for charging. The battery is not replaceable. And this should change, just because now the standard around Europe is USB-C, and any other competitor, which is Nitecore and Petzl, for example, provide optionality for multiple types of fuel, of batteries. This is great. It is amazing. I am waiting for a new version of it. What makes this headlamp special is the RGB capabilities, first of all, then the SOS options as well. But the RGB capabilities makes this headlamp amazing. And then the features, you tap here, it goes to burst mode. You can see all around you, and it penetrates deep. It almost is there with 600 lumen headlamps, but again, that 100 extra lumen make the difference. You'll see it in a moment when we'll go into the forest and we'll test them in almost pitch dark around us. This takes me to the third headlamp that I use as a point of reference when it comes to analyzing what is good, and when I compare what comes new to what was old and working. The third one is this Nitecore HA23 UHE. This one is impressive. It punches as much as the Petzl. They are identical. Maybe this is a tad better, but just maybe. Maybe it is a tad better. Now, in terms of costs, I will check the prices on internet and I'll put them on the screen while speaking, and you will see the difference between them, and that will help you to understand if there is a proper balance when it comes to cost benefit. This one does exactly what Actik Core, the new Actik Core from Petzl does. Exactly that, plus more. This is what makes this headlamp from Nitecore, the HA23 UHE, more and better and different, because it has three different warmths of light. It has white, warm white, and yellow white. This is how I call them. Then when it comes to the red LED, it has the normal weak red, and then it has a higher intensity for the red LED. And this is great because it makes a big difference. So the red of this is better than the red of the Actik Core. And then the SOS modes, definitely way more. It has beacon, it has SOS, and strobe. Compared to the Actik Core, Actik Core has the SOS. I don't remember if it has the strobe as well. For sure it has the SOS. So yes, this one has more survival options there for you to use. Yes, I don't remember which survival mode for what LED is, if it is only for white or also for red. That one I forgot. I know that the survival modes function on any LED. There is no discrimination between LEDs, which is fantastic. This is an impressive headlamp. I have to make sure the comparison you'll see when you'll see it now in the forest is even and fair. I bought the rechargeable battery for this one as well. So yes. Now I'll put on screen the specs of each, and you can compare by yourself as well. Now, to summarize and to move into the forest and see how the beam behaves and what to look after. I'm telling you this, all headlamps, they have plus minus the same beam. Ideally, we will have a better penetrating beam in the next version, which one of them will release the next version. I see Petzl released this, but not yet available, at least on the European market. I've searched, I couldn't find this Petzl Area 2R RGB. I wasn't able to find it. They have a Petzl Area 2 RGB. It is the old version, but I want the new. I don't know if a 2R, only the fact that it comes with a battery in the package is the difference, or maybe something more. I will search and I will research and see. What I'm trying to say is, what I would love to see in the future in headlamps is a penetrating beam that is improved. They all have a penetrating beam, is mediocre. It can do better. Then when it comes to floating, they all have a floating beam as well. I would love that improved again, or at least the power mode, to jump from 600 to 900 lumen, to float the area or to penetrate when I need for 30 seconds or a minute, and then to turn off if it overheats. That's okay, but I would love to have that option. Then I definitely want to have RGB on it. Definitely RGB, to me, it is very important. I want to have, it is a must. If the headlamp doesn't has RGB, I might not buy it. If it doesn't has at least red LED or red color, definitely I'm not buying that. So yes, RGB should become a standard, and at least 2 intensities for the RGB LEDs will be ideal. Also, I want the survival modes, SOS, beacon, and strobe, to be available for all LEDs, white and RGB. I want the warmth of this one because the white, the cold white and the warm white are great, are amazing. And then the yellow white, that one is supposed to be used when you have fog outside. That one is impressive. Nobody speaks about it, but it is very good for survival or extreme conditions when you need to light your path. And a normal cold white or warm white headlamp will not cope and will not be usable. I want what this headlamp has together with what this headlamp has. This one has individual modes. This is the penetrating LED, this is the floating, this one here is the floating, and this here are the RGB. I can power boost from here, I can cycle through all 3 of them, and then when I power boost, these both turn on at the same time. I want to have this. This has survival modes on all LEDs. I want to have this functionality. Then it lasts for ages, the battery. At least in theory, they say it lasts for 7 hours, which is impressive. Then I want to have cold white, warm white, and yellow white. And also I want to have an option to cycle through at least 3 intensities in RGB mode. This one has replaceable rechargeable battery, is this one here. I want this option as well. That's it. If I have these things, I'm happy enough. Let's go into a forest and see what happened. If it was by me, I will say that a headlamp should serve a couple of purposes. One of them is the normal usage. You know the path, you know the route, you know where you are going, and you try to stay as incognito possible. What as incognito possible means, for example, going with a red light of a headlamp. You go with it, you try to stay incognito, nobody to see you, which is good, right? Because you can keep going and from there you mind your business. Now, the other case scenario is when you get lost. You panic, you need to fast orient yourself, you need to see around you. This will be that case scenario where you need intensity, a lot of lumen, a lot of light around you to make sense of things, right? And this might be that other case scenario. When you panic, when you get lost, you are concerned, when you get under stress. And then you have another case scenario. We double click and look what happens now. We have an SOS with this headlamp here. Let's recapitulate what this headlamp in my hand can do. When you start the headlamp, it remembers either the last red mode or otherwise it starts from the minimum intensity, and this will be its minimum intensity. And then you have to, if you want to go more, you have to cycle through the modes. There is no other option with this headlamp here other than this. So you are a bit stuck when you start the headlamp. If you don't use it, for example, and you need this power mode here, then, well, you have to cycle through the modes. There is no other option than cycling through the modes to get to the most powerful, which is a bit not handy. It is one of the things that I don't like about this headlamp here. This promises to output 625 lumen, which is good with its rechargeable battery. By the way, all headlamps in this video have rechargeable batteries. I made sure that the comparison and then the assessment I'm making is as fair possible. With the rechargeable battery, they say it will last up to 2 hours. This is how they say it. Okay, good. So yes, this is the most this headlamp can punch out, which is good. I can tell you that. 625 lumen, it is good. I can make sense of my surrounding and I'm able to see quite well everywhere. Now, when you look at the beam, you see you have a beam that goes deep and then a beam that floats. This is what this headlamp has as when it comes to the composition of a beam. It has one that tries to penetrate and one that tries to float the area. This is good because we can see far away and then around us. Now, as I was saying, this headlamp here has this red mode here, but it doesn't do anything practically, really. You have to have pitch black around you for this to actually help you, which is, I would say, it is a bummer. Let me introduce you to the next headlamp. This headlamp here is actually interesting. Starts the same way, so I press here and this is one mode, which is the minimum. And from here I press back again and then back again. And this is the maximum. Now, when you check the beam, you see this beam here tries as well to penetrate. Can you see it? It tries to penetrate as well, and then it floats as well. So it tries to do the same job as the previous headlamp. Now, to me, it appears that it punches a bit more light, but pay attention. On paper, this one with the rechargeable battery, it is supposed to punch out only 600 lumen. So now 600, 625 is the same. What maybe changes here is the warmth of light. Maybe that one is what subjectively impacts our perception. So let's switch between modes. We click once and now we are in the, I call it yellow light. It is a warm white. I think this is the warm white, something like that, or yellow warm, something like that. I call it yellow. And you see, now it changed from what it was initially. This is supposed to start in the warm white. Then I click again, and this is the yellow. And then I click again, and this is the cold white. Good. Now, still with a cold white, to me, this appears that it punches more, but maybe I'm subjective. Let's do a comparison between the two. So this is at the maximum. Let's turn this on. Good. So this is the second headlamp in our analysis and in our test or comparison. This is the other one. This is supposed to punch out 625 lumen at this intensity, and this is supposed to punch out 600 lumen. Yes, they are pretty similar. By now you know that this headlamp here has three warmths of the light, 3 modes for the warmth. This is the yellow, the cold, and then the warm white. Now I will double click on this, and then I click, and it changed the mode, you see? And I click back again, and look what happens. Let me do like this. So this is one mode, good. Now this is SOS. I click again. This is the strobe mode, no? It has these 3 modes, which is amazing. It is impressive that it has them. And this is the SOS, back again. Good. So now I double click back again. So this is that. So I double clicked here on the mode button. Perfect. Now I turn it off, and I keep pressed on the mode button. And when I keep pressed on that, I have a red light going. And you see we have 2 intensities for the LED. Let's see how these 2 intensities go. This requires pitch black as well for us to see something, and this one appears to do somehow a better job, somehow. But yes, not necessarily super impressed by the intensity of this red LED here as well, but at least it is a bit more. I will say the first headlamp in our test, I will say this one, this is like a spot on this is like a spot, and it somehow helps to navigate when you walk. Yes, interesting, but you need pitch dark. I don't have pitch dark here in this forest, unfortunately. These are the first 2 headlamps. We ran this comparison test. Let's go with the third one. I have 3 of them, right? So we turn this on, and this is it. It goes to one of its settings, and then if I start navigating the modes, this is floating. By now you already see how this headlamp here changes when it comes to features, because when I go through the modes, let me turn like this. This is the red LED, okay, and then this is the penetrating LED, and then this is the floating LED. So it has these 3 LEDs here. Now this is the power mode. I tap and I'm in power mode. Now the power mode is interesting. I will say appears to be somehow the weakest out of all. Let's compare it with the first headlamp. Way more for the first one. The first one is supposed to punch 625 lumen compared to the last one, which is supposed to punch only 500 lumen. That 500 lumen there, we can actually see it. Definitely this one punches more because it has more lumen. Yes, unfortunately this one falls behind. Even when we check that tree there, we cannot see too many details. And this is the maximum of this headlamp. Yes, this 125 extra lumen definitely make a difference. Now this comparison is between the third headlamp, which is this one. First let's test the penetration. Wow, yes, this does an amazing job. This one unfortunately falls far behind. Good. And now let's compare the beam here. This is the second headlamp. Yes, definitely an amazing job. Definitely an amazing job. Yes, well, it shows that this third headlamp is the oldest out of all. We've seen the beam of this. Let's navigate to the LEDs. This is RGB. which is interesting because if I keep here pressed, now we are in green mode. This green mode is amazing because it actually floats the area compared to the red, and I can see, I can actually walk. This keeps me incognito, which is great. It is amazing. We are in blue mode. Imagine that. And I can see it floats around me and I can walk. This helps me stay incognito, which is great. It is fantastic. This is what gives extra leverage to this old headlamp. These RGB LEDs here are just amazing. Let me double click here, and now we are in strobe mode. If I click here, we go in SOS mode. Good. And now look what I'm doing. I double click, I again go in strobe, and I tap, and I'm in SOS mode. Isn't this amazing? This has all these modes on all these LEDs, which makes it amazing. Now let's turn it on. Let's turn it on and go to this LED here, and we do the same. Double click and tap. I have to also, I tapped, and it is SOS mode. So yes, this is what this headlamp, the third one, has. It is supposed to punch out 500 lumen. It shows that difference. Let me show my face, but before I show my face, I want to do a last comparison between the first and the second headlamp. This is the second headlamp here. This is the first headlamp. I will say the second headlamp penetrates better. Definitely penetrates better. Yeah, definitely it penetrates better. Or maybe I'm subjective, I don't know what to say. But to me, it appears that it penetrates better. Let me go to a lower setting. These have been the headlamps. I have an impression. The one I kept now on is my favorite from a perspective. If this headlamp would have had RGB, would have been the killer headlamp of all headlamps.